Good morning, everybody. Hopefully you had a wonderful weekend, and it's sorry if you're one of the many people getting clobbered by the cold. So hopefully you can make it through this week. So again, hope you had a good weekend. We'll go ahead and get started. So after my little tirade on Friday, Missy said, "Well, you should tell people how well everybody's doing as well." So I thought I would add every week if we somebody's done something real well, just add that in. This week I want to congratulate Bob, who he's doing it the right way, and he decided to have some lunch and learns to make sure he had the outside the box done appropriately before he started doing public events. And his first outside the box, he really struggled. And Bob's a really nice, vivacious guy. We've actually listened to one of his tapes here 6 to 8 months ago, where he really nailed a 21-point checklist meeting, and just a really happy, fun guy. But at his first outside the box, because he was learning the script and a little bit uncomfortable with it, he really struggled to have the tone correctly. Because remember, with outside the box, we want a very happy. The three things we want are very, very happy, upbeat tone. Number two is we need to ask why action questions, and number three, we need a Technicolor story, especially at the power of attorney. So he was asking the why action questions. He was doing a good job in the power of attorney story, but he just was struggling with tone, making it very happy. And it's because the first one, it was just learning the script. The second one, again, little better, but really struggling with it. But the third time, he just nailed it. So his tone was upbeat, happy. Everybody was involved. Everybody was participating. He had the why action questions in there. He was okay with asking the why action questions because everybody was having so much fun. And he had a Technicolor power of attorney story, which really helped him with his appointment ratio. So I think he got close to, I think he only missed one or two appointments. Everybody else made appointments, and the other two didn't say no. They said call later. So again, guys, I've just never seen events that had 80 or 100% appointment ratios. In 17 years of doing events, never seen people have that kind of appointment ratios. And the first two times he did not. He struggled. But when he got all the things lined up, correct tone, upbeat, happy tone, the why action questions, and the Technicolor power of attorney story, like I said, he got well over 80% appointment ratios. And a lady approached him and has asked him, or approached his assistant and asked him to speak or have a class at the local college. So I mean, that to get an 80+% appointment ratio and have the local college approach you based on that presentation to come speak at their college, what does that tell you? Did it come across as selling, guys? Would the local college have come up and said, "Hey, we'd like you to do a class for us," if it was based on selling? So let's see some answers in that. You guys are quiet today. No. That's right, Rick, no. So here's the thing. He gets an 80+% appointment ratio and still has the local college want to do a class. Can it get any better than that, where he was not viewed as if he was selling at all, but gets above 80% appointment ratios? So good job, Bob. I just wanted to share that with you. So what we're going to talk about today is something we all need to worry about, which is, do people trust us? So I looked at a senior survey that was printed in thehealthpro.com, and it was talking about and the Retirement Advisor, and what seniors are worried about. So I thought this was kind of funny. When we looked at all the social media, because we're told about how, hey, social media is a fantastic way to market, right? Well, they looked at this. Social media, here's how people who are retired use social media. 40% of them use it to connect to friends and family. 30% use it to share photos. And 30% use it for games and contests. So what do you not see in there, guys? What do you not see in the social media? Business, yeah, they're not looking, Rick, are they looking for business or finding an advisor, an attorney, or a doctor, or anything like that? Social media to them is what? Social media. So it's used to talk to family. It's not used to go look for your advisor or look for an attorney or look for a doctor. So, I mean, does that tell you All these articles you're reading about social media and how great that is and how good you got to be at it, go to the very end of the article. You know how at the end of the article there's always a blurb about the author or the writer of that article? Anytime I read something on social media, I'm reading it too. I'm interested in that stuff. We could find a way to use it. I want to use it. So I always go to the end of the article, and who wrote that article? What does it always say about the person who wrote that article? Something trumpeting social media. What do you think it always says about that person that wrote that article and how social media is the way to go? They sell social media, John. You're exactly right. They sell social media. So number one, now here's the thing. What is the number one thing seniors look for in an advisor? Tom Corbett, trust. Good job, Tom. 64% say trust. 22% said experience. 4% said a variety of products offered, and 11% said other. Here's the one I love, the variety of products offered. So what percent of people are making their decision on their advisor based on the product they're offering? 4%. But what do 99% of advisors come in there with? What do 99% of the advisors come in with a prospect with? Products, right, Roy? Products. And products can be a number. Is managed? Here's a question: is managed money a product, guys? Is managed money a product? So you're all saying yes. It's hilarious. So some people who sell managed money think that it's not a product. That cracks me up. It's a product. Jim, why would it be not a product? Guys, so I finally had one. Said no, managed money is not a product. It sure the hell is a product. Do you make money off of it? Yes. So guess what it is? A product. Is software a product? If you're charging for it, it's a product. So what people are looking for is trust. So now if that's what they're looking for, what do they abhor in an advisor? What do they not want in an advisor? What do you think? Let's see what the answer to that is. Good job, Roy. Pushy. Too pushy. Second one, too expensive. Third one is other. Too expensive. I do not like charging for plans. Why do you think I don't like charging for plans? There are two reasons I don't like charging for plans. Number one, if you charge for plans, people think, hey, I paid you for the plan, so guess what? My obligation is over. Just because they do a plan with you doesn't mean they're going to work with you. In fact, it's highly likely they won't work with you because they paid you for the plan. Sort of like, I paid you for the plan, now I can take that information wherever I want. The other thing the reason I don't like it is this, is you end up losing people you would have otherwise had. Because here's the thing, have you been able to show them what you can do for them yet? Prior to doing the plan, have you been able to show them what you can do for them yet? No. Right, Rick? No. So that means anything you're charging is what? If they don't know what you can do for them, anything you charge is what? Too much. Right, Tony? Too much. I don't care if it's $300 or $1,200, it's too much. So I don't like charging, and that's where that's too expensive. I don't like being too pushy. So are we pushy? Are we pushy, guys, at the 21-point checklist? Do we use the 21-point checklist to sell? What do we sell at the 21-point checklist? Right, Tony? Nothing. We sell nothing. And if they like everything that they like, I'm sure if they like everything they have at the end of the 21-point checklist, what do we say? If they said, yeah, I know I was paying that much fees, I like it. I know I was doing that, I like it. I know I was doing that, I like it. That's right, Michelle. We said, fine, great. You're right where you need to be. God bless you, and good luck to you. We send them on their way. Right? So let's go back to this. How do we create trust with our clients? How do we create trust with our clients? Remember, I always told people that I made $1 million a year doing things I don't get paid for. So when you do things you don't get paid for, guess what? It's a 21-point checklist that creates trust. It's a 21-point checklist that creates trust. Why? because we're doing things, we're adding value. That's right, Brad. We're value-added services that no one else does, and we don't get paid to do them. You know, when I was looking for a home security service, we had one company come in. They were slick. They had beautiful brochures. The salesperson was really, knew his presentation backwards and forwards. They're a well-known company. And then we had another one come in the next day, and she came 15 minutes late, and she was a little disheveled, and she was a little out of sorts, and her presentation was a little bit amateurish. But the first thing she did, she says, "Can I walk around your house?" And she goes, "Look at your windows here." And she had 10 of these little $1.50 screw-in locks that you could have for your windows, because we had open sash windows. So she said, "You just screw these down, and then nobody can break in by moving the windows up." So she spent a total of like $10 giving me these little things. Guess who I went with? Who do you think I went with? The fancy schmancy place, or the person that arrived a little bit? Yeah, her, exactly right. I went with her. Why? Because it was apparent that she was interested in my security. Why? I don't know if she was or not, but why? She gave me things for free. She made nothing on that, but still gave me value before she asked me to buy anything. So that's how we create trust with the 21-point checklist. And we're not pushy. We're not too expensive, because we do this all for free. Now, here they ask them, what are your retirement concerns? What are your retirement concerns? There's a difference here between different kinds of concerns. When they talked about their retirement concerns, and I didn't do this slide very well, so I apologize. See, there's the retirement concerns, but when we talk about their overall concerns, is overall concerns the same as retirement concerns? Are we kind of narrowing it down when we say retirement concerns? So overall concerns, retirement concerns would be part of overall concerns. Retirement concerns would be part of overall concerns. So when we look at overall concerns, health, meaning cancer, health cost, and losing cognitive function, those are always in the top three. Health, healthcare costs, and loss of health, healthcare costs, and losing cognitive function. Those are always in the top three of no matter what you look at survey-wise, unless they narrow it down to retirement concerns. And retirement concerns are basically saying what? What are your specialized concerns that have to do with retirements? And most people think of retirement, what do they think of? Moolah. But even so, the number one retirement concern is having a catastrophic event that uses my retirement funds. So what are some examples of catastrophic events that could harm their retirement funds? Long-term care, yep. Alzheimer's, yep. Stroke, yes. Nursing home, yes. What else? Okay, we got nursing home. Okay, so we've taken that off. Health concern, we've taken that off the list. Aha, Michael got it. Market fall. So we've got healthcare costs. We've got market fall. Inflation, yeah. I mean, if we had 1970 type inflation, that could be a huge problem. Kids coming back home, Paul. I totally agree with that. That's catastrophic. I mean, there's all sorts of things that can happen, come out of left field for us. So that's their number one retirement concern. But when we look at their overall concerns, so did this, having a catastrophic event that uses my retirement funds, show up in the top three of their overall concerns? No. Now here's the great thing about what we do. Is cancer on somebody's mind 24 hours a day? Most people, normal people. No. Healthcare costs, is that on somebody's mind 24 hours a day? Losing cognitive function, is that on somebody's mind? Again, average, regular people, no. Having a catastrophic event that uses my retirement funds, is that on somebody's mind 24 hours a day? No. And that's why I laugh at some of these concerns, because here's the thing. We have the best concern. Because let me ask you a question. These are all I would consider chronic concerns, right? They're gnawing at people's minds on the back burner constantly. But if we want to get somebody to take action, do we want something that's gnawing on the back burner, or do we want something that is just gnawing at the front of their brain and won't let them go, won't let their attention go? Which one would you rather have, something on the back burner or something that's right in their face that they can't let go? On the front. Do we have that? Do we have that? Yeah, Rick says yeah, and Matt says POA. Well, here's what I'm going to say. when they're done with the 21-point checklist, what is their concern? When they're done with the 21-point checklist, if you do it right, what is their concern? Their advisor, Matt, and what about their advisor? Aha, they're getting screwed with by their guy, exactly right. So now, weighing on a scale, getting screwed by their guy versus health, having cancer, healthcare costs, losing cognitive function, having a catastrophic event that uses my retirement, where does that end up on the scale? Is that even compare? Can these even compare to what's going on in their brain if they think their guy is screwing them? See, these are all warm. These are all things that are bothering them a little bit. They're warm. As far as hot buttons, these are all warm buttons. But when they find out their guy is taking advantage of them, guess what? Now that's a hot button. Does that show up on any list? No, it doesn't show up on any concern list. So you guys have an advantage nobody else has. You have an advantage nobody else has. You have a searing hot button. Remember, I talk about this all the time, and maybe you think I'm an oddball. But if I'm standing in line, and somebody butts in front of me, it's going to cost me 30 seconds of my life. Whoop-de-doo. Why do I go through the roof when somebody butts in line? So why do nice people who love their advisor go through the roof when you do a 21-point checklist appropriately? Because they feel like the guy's been taking advantage of them. They feel like the guy that they trusted, the guy that they loved, is taking advantage of them. And there's nothing more right, Tony, there's nothing more disrespectful than that. And that now does that just sit on the back burner? When somebody feels somebody, what kind of emotion is involved? Begins a simmer. There is no simmer there. There's anger there, Brad. I'd agree. If somebody's taking advantage of you, you're just going to be, the anger is simmering? Hell no. You are what? Boiling. Even the nicest people. So we have an advantage with the 21-point checklist nobody else has. We have searing hot buttons, not warm buttons. Does that make sense? So, but let's talk about health concerns, because that really is, if we go back, look at healthcare, health. The cognitive functions, that's health. Catastrophic, that's at least one of the things that could cause a huge thing. So healthcare is on their mind. 60% of them describe themselves as terrified of what healthcare costs could do to their retirement plans. 59% said that most financial advisors are not equipped to discuss retirement healthcare costs. And 70% said they wish they knew more about Medicare. So guys, if I was going to start making myself an expert, would I have spent all my time trying to find a money manager, trying to find out what kind of software I should buy to get better investments? What would I spend my time on if I was trying to get smarter than all the other advisors out there? And I'll tell you straight out, one of our advisors, Dan, is awesome. Dan is awesome, and he's, I can't remember, Missy, is he in South Carolina, North Carolina? But he's able to bring people in over and over and over, because he talks about Medicare at his events. And people come in regularly, boom, 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 because how many financial advisors know about Medicare? So it just cracks me up that and Michael keeps or has Medicare in his Social Security presentations. So if I was going to be getting an expert at something, I sure in the heck wouldn't try to become an expert on investments. I try to become an expert on Medicare. What's on their mind? Finding a better investment, guys? Where did you see? Did you see in all their concerns finding a better investment anywhere there? Was that on anybody's mind trying to find? Is that in their top 10 trying to find a better investment? No. Where is in their top 3? Everything has to do with what? Medical. So I'm not telling you to go out and become an expert on Medicare. I'm saying, though, if I was going to be wasting time trying to become an expert on something, that's what I'd be becoming an expert on. John asks, why don't we talk about it then? Because Jeff and I have talked about talking about Medicare, and this is a great, and let's take a poll here. If we started to talk, are you guys okay with us starting to roll in some Medicare information? Because when we've tried to do it before, guess what most advisors do? They freak out. Why? I don't want to be in it. That's complicated. Change, Paul. That's right. Change. It's too confusing now. That's what they tell me. It's too confusing. So if you guys are open to it, I'd love to do this, because you know what? That's what people want to talk about. That's what people want to talk about. Okay, we're getting lots of positive feedback. Super. Super. Then I will move it from the back burner to the front burner. Okay? So why don't they buy long-term care, guys? 57% say it's too expensive. 9% say they don't think they'll need it. 5% says no one has offered to sell it to me, and 1% said they don't understand it. And 28% have other. So that's why at the outside the box presentation, what do we say? What's the first thing? Too expensive. And what do we ask them? This. How many people would want long-term care insurance if it were free? How many people would say they'd like long-term care insurance if it was free? All of them. Now, if they qualify for the win-win-win, do they get it for free? Everybody saying yes? You're right, yes, because all they're doing is moving it from a money market or CD. And how much is the money market or CD paying? Nothing. And what is the long-term, or what is the win-win-win paying? Nothing. But are they both liquid? It's both the money market and the win-win-win liquid. Can they get their money out if they want it? Are they both guaranteed? Yeah. They're both liquid, and they're both guaranteed. I mean, one by the insurance company, one by the FDIC, but how many people have lost their money in a win-win-win? Nobody. Now, when we talk about death, which one is better? Well, compared to, can you go to the bank and ask for, or your brokerage and go and say, hey, my spouse just died, can you kick in some of your profits to pay for this? And then in long-term care, can we say, hey, can you kick in $150,000 of your profits to help me and my family because my spouse is in are they going to do that? No. So essentially, they're getting long-term care, and there's no fees. There are fees there, right? There are fees there. That's why they're not earning interest, because the insurance company is using that interest to buy the. Because here's the thing, guys. What's a fee on a money market? What's a fee on a money market? See, you guys don't get it. I got low, low, zero, low. Bull crap, guys. What's the fee on a money market? When I go to the bank and I want a loan, when I want to get a loan for my house, they're going to give me a loan for 0.5%? Wow, where are you guys going to your banks? What bank do you have? There you go, Matt. Matt got it. 4 or 5% is the fee. Because what they're doing is what? They're making 4 or 5%. They're only giving you 0.5%, which means what? That's the fee. Just like when you're in a mutual fund. When they're making 10, but their fee is 1.5, they only give you 8.5. That means their fee is what? The difference between what that entity is making and what they give you is the fee. So at a money market, what are they making off your money? But they're putting it all where? In the bank's coffers. At least with the win-win-win, they're taking some of that fee and doing what for you? Giving you long-term care, giving you a death benefit. So but essentially, guess what you're doing? You're getting long-term care insurance if you qualify for it. For what? What's the cost of with the win-win-win for long-term care insurance if you qualify? It's free, right, Fern? It's free. So now I want to get into a similar but different area. We talked about it earlier, trust. Trust is what they're looking for, right? That's what they want. Just like you've heard me talk about, if I'm going to a mechanic and I got to decide about the one on the left-hand side of the street and the right-hand side of the street, am I worried about the mechanic, which mechanic knows more? Am I worried about which mechanic knows more? No. What am I worried about? I am worried about one thing. What am I worried about with those mechanics? Which one's not going to what? Trust, right, Roy? Which one's not going to take advantage of me? Which one's not going to charge me for something that doesn't need to be done? So how do we try to deal with trust in our industry? Here's how let me see if somebody can come up. How do we try to deal with the trust issue in our industry, which is hilarious? How do we try to deal with it? Disclosure, I wish, Fern's right, disclosure. That's how we should be dealing with it. But unfortunately, as we can see, since we've had 50,000 recorded meetings, guess how many advisors are using disclosure appropriately? They're not. Guys, here's how we try to deal with trust. We get what? Letters behind our name. Isn't that why we get letters behind our name? Hey, I'm a CFP, so you can what? Trust me. Hey, I'm an RIA, so you can what? Trust me. So getting a bunch of letters behind your name, does that make them trust you? No. Having a fancy office, does that make them trust you? No. My office, and Missy can validate this, I was in property casualty role. I had crappy industrial carpeting on the ground. I had $300 worth of rattan furniture from Pier 1 as furniture, a glass coffee table that probably cost $50. You know, all my art was simply what? Pictures of all my clients at happy events. How fancy was our office, Missy?
It was not fancy at all, nice and basic.
And we made $1 million a year in the most basic of all offices, where all the guys at Wells Fargo, Merrill Lynch, Edward E. Jones with their nice offices, guess what? I was trouncing them on income. Why? I was trouncing them on how many clients I was bringing on. Why? Because it has nothing to do with your office space. So what are people looking for? They're looking for people who they can trust, not certifications. And, you know, we talk about this, that trial attorneys make millions and millions of dollars by getting settlements. And when they go to a jury, they want to make sure that jury is sympathetic to them. So because there's millions, I mean hundreds of millions, probably billions of dollars involved on a yearly basis with this, they spend a lot of money trying to figure out what makes juries believe them. Because really, all these cases come down to what? My expert versus your expert. So trial attorneys have done tons of research to figure out why juries trust one expert over another. And see, what attorneys thought is what? Because attorneys are very much based on, well, I went to Harvard. Well, you only went to Columbia. Well, you only went to Hamlin. So they love their, you know, credentials. So they thought having the better credentials is what would make juries believe them. But it ends up what the juries believe is people who speak in a manner that they can understand. If they're given a choice between a guy from the Harvard and a guy from University of Minnesota, if the guy from Harvard is easier to understand, they're going to trust him. If the guy from University of Minnesota is easier to trust, they're going to go with him. They're looking for just the person that talks in a language that they can understand. So do people understand our language, guys? As financial advisors, do people understand our language? They don't at all. So why do you think we're constantly trying to teach you to have them learn for themselves by asking questions? Because when you ask questions and they tell you the answer, you know they're what? Understanding what your point is. That's why we hammer that and hammer that and hammer that. And by asking questions and having them discover for themselves what the answer is, what does that build for us? What's that build for us? Makes us trust, exactly. Trust. So they're discovering for themselves, so they begin to trust us because we're explaining things in a manner that they can understand. Also, we do things that we don't get paid for. So these are all things that we do to build trust. And I know it's frustrating at times, but is it worth it if you can make $1 million a year? So when you concern yourself with elevating others, you actually elevate yourself. So what do we do? When we tell, sell, preach, and teach, who are we elevating? Well, first of all, can we agree with this quote? When you concern yourself with elevating others, you actually elevate yourself. Can we agree with this quote? But when we tell, sell, preach, and teach, we're elevating ourselves. We're making ourselves look smarter. We're letting that person know that, hey, you can trust me because I'm smarter than you, and you really need me because I have so much smarts. Well, that maybe worked 10, 15 years ago, but in today's world, guess what? It does not work. What's a CFP telling people? I'm smarter than you. Terrific. Because does a CFP, hey, I have no problem with CFPs. I was a CFP. I have no problem. I think it's a wonderful education. What's the sad thing about all that education, though, guys? What's the sad thing about all that education with CFPs? Guys, our guys pull new clients from CFPs all the time. Why? Because once they get the CFP, they go back to doing what? Once they get the CFP, they go back to doing what? Selling product. So the only reason they got a CFP was what? To show people that they could be trusted. So if there's a CFP out there that does what we do, then, hey, that's terrific. Guess how many CFPs we find doing what we do? In fact, how many advisors at all do what we do? And again, we've got 50,000 recorded meetings, and how many times have we come across in 15 years of coaching, guys, 17 if you include myself, of an advisor doing the things that we do? Zero, exactly. Zippo, none. So what are financial advisors doing? Are we in the business of advice or the business of selling? And I'll tell you straight out, here's what happened to me. Back in the late 90s, 97 or so, I was sitting, and I'd bought over $30,000 worth of investment classes or programs or whatever on how to invest better, how to be smarter, how to get a better return than the market. Probably about 10 different systems to beat the market, get higher returns with lower risk, get a little bit lower return but a lot lower risk, all sorts of different ways. And guess what I found out about all of those systems? They worked until what? They worked until what? Until they didn't. And so I was one Saturday morning, I was swearing and everything else, and my wife's like, "What is your problem? What is your problem?" And I guiltily told her that I'd spent $30,000 of our hard-earned money over the last 5 years trying to figure out a way to beat the market, and that there was no way to beat the market. In fact, academia agrees that you can't beat the market. What does academia tell you should invest in, guys? Not what people are selling, investments are telling you to sell. What does academia tell you to invest in? Over and over and over, what's academia tell you to invest in? Indexed, indexed, indexed. Because they could care less what you invest in. Anybody that has a bone to pick, they're gonna come up with all sorts of reasons why index investing is bad and active management is better. But academia says index investing. So I told her, I said straight out, I said, you know what? All these systems tell me how I can invest better, but I would have been better off just investing in the index. And she goes, why didn't you do that? And my world came crashing down on me at that point. My world came, it's like the whole world came crashing down on me at that point. Why? Because I had to make a decision. Either number one, I had to invest my own money in the wrong place because I was having my clients invest their money in the wrong place. Or I could invest my money in the right place and continue to sell products that were not right for the client, but at least I'd get paid. Or I had to put my money in the right place and put my client's money in the right place, and if I did that, guess how much money I'd make? You don't make much money selling index products. But two things happened at that time. Number one is index, fixed index investments came about at that point, so at least I could be okay with charging fees because at least they had guarantees. They were automatically buying high or buying low and selling high. They were locking in their gains. So there was all sorts of I could say that. But more importantly, I started to what? What have I told you guys? Let's see if you were listening here 3 or 4 months ago. What did I tell you? Those of you that are charging 1% or 2% for managed money, what had you better be telling your clients if you're charging 1 or 2% for managed money? With all these robot advisors out there now, and that more and more and more, Vanguard's robot advisor brought on $4.5 billion last year, so there's more money traveling that direction. So if you're doing managed money and charging 1% or 2% of managed money, you'd better be telling people what? Let's see if anybody can get that. That's right, 0.25% is for the money management, and the rest is for what? All the other things we do through the 21-point checklist. So if you're charging 1, 0.25% of it is for the money management. The other 0.75 is for all the other things that I do. See, the other thing that I figured out at that point was I need to provide value, because just providing investment advice, I personally had a problem with that. You know what? And it's catching up to everybody now with these robo-advisors. Because if you're just giving investment advice, there's so many people out there doing that, and now they got robots doing it for cheaper than we could ever hope to do. But because we do the 21-point checklist, because we're doing things that we quote-unquote don't get paid for, value-added things, now we can feel what about our commissions? Now we can feel what about the money management fees that we're charging? Because we're doing all these other things, well, how can we feel about the other thing, being charging safe and good, right? Justify the fee, right, Roy? So I went back into the marketplace with a vengeance because I knew I was providing. For now, I didn't have to feel guilty about the commissions I was getting. I didn't have to feel guilty about the fees I was charging because I was actually providing true value. So I went from sell to what? Advice. So you guys are in an awfully good place with the 21-point checklist because you are doing what none of your competitors are doing. So let's think if you go to a party, okay? Let's think you're at a party, and one of your friends identifies a guy across the room and says, hey, that guy over there is a financial planner. Now I want you to think quick. What is your instinctive response? That guy across the room there, he's a financial planner. It's at a party, and you're thinking that about like maybe 50 people, hey, that guy across the room is a financial planner. What goes through your mind? Aha, Fern's got it, competition. Yep, competition. Are you thinking, hey, excellent, a colleague, let's get ourselves, we should go over and get ourselves introduced so we can share good ideas and share how we can help our clients. Is that what we think, guys? Is that what we think? Nope. We're thinking what? Uh-oh, competitor, I wonder if they're any good. Uh-oh, I bet those folks over there better hold on to their wallets. Is that the kind of thing we're thinking? Or do you go over there and introduce yourself and say, hey, we should become friends. We should share ideas. Maybe there's some ways we can work together. Is that what we do, or do we look at them as competition? We look at them as competition. Now, here's the thing. That's the way we look at these people. So they're our industry. They're our industry. They're our colleagues, and we look at them that way. So how do you think the public looks at us? If we look at our own colleagues that way, what other industry looks at their own colleagues that way? Attorneys pump up attorneys. Doctors pump up doctors. Heck, HR people pump up HR people. Everybody looks after their colleagues except who? Us. We what? Want to tear them apart. Why? Because we've seen so many advisors do what to their clients? If we've seen it, guess what? So has the public. So has the public. So if we feel that way, guess how the public feels about us? See, very few of us are what we seem, right? We all say we're advisors, but very few of us actually what? Are. And we can't be blamed for that because in the beginning, what was financial advice? Or I mean advising. What was it about? And I love this quote. I love this quote because this is the way we used to approach a business. It said, this guy is making a quote. He says, in my early days, I remember when my first manager declared to his recently recruited advisors, financial planning is the greatest product delivery system ever created. If you do your data collection right, you will know everything of importance there is to know about that client. That knowledge should always lead to a buy decision. If you know that much about someone, together with their most intimate priorities, you can overcome almost any objection. Now, what is that guy not doing? What is that manager not doing there? Do you get what he's saying? He's saying this is awesome. They're going to give us all their financial information. They're going to tell us what they're worried about. So, hey, selling these people should be what? Easy. So he was selling them. And that's the way I started out with American Express or IDS before American Express bought them. And guess what we were taught? That very thing. Do a financial plan to help them? No. Do a financial plan so you can find out a bunch of information about them so you can what? Sell them. So you can't sell people as like you used to. And that's why so many advisors are struggling because they're still back trying to do what? Sell product. We have an advantage. We have an advantage because we are what? Actually helping people. See, we're elevating our clients' knowledge. We're elevating our clients' understanding with full disclosure. We're elevating our clients' self-respect, dignity, their confidence by not telling, selling, preaching, and teaching. Instead, we let them discover for themselves. We're not elevating ourselves with a distinction or a credential or whatever it may be. We're elevating the client, not ourselves. We're giving advice. We're not selling. See, intent versus action. Intent versus action. We assess others based on their actions, but ourselves on our intent. Guys, if all you do is go in there and you call me up or you call Jeff and say, hey, this client is different. Do I really need to do a 21 with them? What are you saying, guys? This client's different. Do I really need to do a 21 with them? All they want to know is what kind of product to buy. What are you doing? You're selling, right, John? You're selling, selling, selling. And you're saying, hey, why go through and actually help a client when it's going to be much easier just to what? Get my money. Sell them and get my money. Guys, you either believe in this or you don't. So please don't be part of the problem. Don't be part of the problem. And I love this. I love this. You should always ask yourself, if your mom knew what you were doing with a client, would she be proud of you or embarrassed by you? If she knew what you said about clients when the clients left, if she knew what you said about, talked about when the clients left, about, hey, how much money you're going to make off of that client, how much money, how much his case is worth, instead of, hey, this is a client I could really help. And Missy can validate. Missy, did I ever know, the years I was making the big bucks, was I ever worried about how much money I was making off a client? Or did I treat all of them the same and I never asked you what I was making? In my head, was I ever calculating the commission?
Nope, everyone was treated the same. You didn't even worry about it.
Because, guys, here's the thing. It doesn't matter if they're a $100,000 or $1 million client. You treat them all the same, and what's going to come out in the wash? You treat everybody decently. You give good advice to everybody. You treat everybody with respect and have them treat you with respect. Guess what happens? You become successful. So don't say things about your client that you wouldn't want your mother to hear, and that is talking about them as if they are a piece of meat. Doing the 21-point checklist, what does that make you treat people as? When you do the 21-point checklist and you do it appropriately, where you're asking questions, letting them discover things, how are you treating a client? Are you treating them like a piece of meat? Are you treating them like a paycheck? Are you treating them like, no. You're treating them with respect, right, Roy? And when you treat them with respect and they discover that their current advisor is not treating them with respect, guess what? You don't have to worry about selling. It just happens. You understand what we're doing with the 21-point checklist? It's not about selling. We're treating the client with respect. When they find out and having them discover their current advisor is not treating them with respect. So when their current advisor is not treating them with respect and we are treating them with respect, guess what? Do they move their money or do they not move their money? And when did they move it and how much did they move? That's what we're doing. Are we selling with the 21-point checklist? No, we're not. So now you understand why I was getting so wound up on Friday about when our clients discover for themselves that they're being disrespected. Guess what? They're going to move their money. And when we do it in a courteous way by letting them ask themselves these questions, by letting them come to their own conclusions, that's treating somebody with respect. See, when you've got your son and you're trying to get him to understand that he needs to clean his room, you could just yell at him and say, clean your room or you're going to lose your respect. You act like you're looking like a pig. You could do that, right? And he might clean the room, but what will he feel about you? What will he feel about you? I agree, Tom. Tom says, with concern for their well-being. So what will your son will clean, but he'll what? He'll resent you. But if instead you have him learn and talk to himself about why he wants to have a clean room, that sets him up for success. Having a clean room sets him up for success in the future. It also is going to set him success if he's dating because he doesn't want a girl to come over into a stinky, smelly room. It sets him up for success that no one, friends, neighbors, relatives aren't going to see his room and think that it's going to let him discover for himself. And that's the respectful way to have people learn, by asking them questions so they can learn for themselves. That's respectful. But when all you do is point out all the things they're doing wrong, that makes us feel good, but it does not make them feel good. So please, 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 spend the 4 hours, a 4-hour chunk of time learning the power of attorney. Spend a 4-hour chunk of time learning the titling. Spend a 4-hour chunk of time learning the beneficiaries. If you do that, what I'm asking you to learn there is how to ask questions so the client discovers for themselves why their guy has disrespected them, not you pointing it out to them, because if you point it out to them, that's disrespectful. Them discovering for themselves, that's respectful. And when they learn for themselves, you're building trust. When you tell them, you're not building trust. Why are you not building trust when you're pointing out all the things that somebody's doing wrong? Because you're just showing that you're smarter than they are. You're showing that they're not knowledgeable. You're showing that all the mistakes they made. We don't trust people who do that to us. The people that have us learn in a manner that we want to learn, we love those people. Does that make sense? Super. Any questions, any concerns on what I covered today? So I really appreciate all you guys. You're on the system. This is the way that you're going to really turn this system into dynamite for you in a way that's going to be great for you and great for the people you work with. So I've got a question here. This is a little off topic, but if this is a question. It's a little off topic, but if you have some time, could you please talk quickly about how to best handle folks who make appointments, come for the agreement meeting, that have no money but are really nice and want to do a 21? Sure. What I'm going to do, that's a great question. So again, if we're about respect, should we only be about respect to people who have money? No, we got to be respectful to everybody. So when somebody comes to me and they don't have enough money, what I do is a 21 right there, that very first meeting. So I'm going to say, terrific, here's what we need to do. And I'll take out a yellow pad and I'll say, we need to get your powers of attorney updated. You need to go to an attorney. Here's an attorney that can do that for you. Or you can go to LegalZoom and you can do it there. You need to get a survivor's guide done, and I hand them 2 survivor's guides. You need to get a quality of life directive. I hand them the quality of life directives. You need to get your beneficiaries set. So I walk through on a yellow pad what they need to do. So a mini 21 right there on a yellow pad, what they need to do, and I actually hand them the survivor's guides and I hand them the quality of life directives so they can bring those home. So their 21-point checklist is done right there in triage at that very first meeting. And then I say, so then I get something out of that too, because I've treated them with respect. I'm going to say, so folks, did I twist your arm during this and wrestle you and make you buy something from me at this meeting? And say, no, you didn't. Was it helpful to come? Yeah, it was helpful. So, here's the thing, folks. You came in to see me. Other people are afraid to come in to see me because they think I'm going to wrestle you to the ground and make you buy something. I didn't do that, did I? No, you didn't. So would you, if I sent you home with a self-addressed envelope, would you write a nice note about this experience, that I didn't try to do that, it was helpful, etc., and send it back to me? So if you're an insurance professional, you can do that. How about if you're a registered rep, can you do that? If you're a registered rep, can you do that? Yeah, you can. So I got one no. Guys, if you're a registered rep, you can have reference letters. Don't you get that? If you're a registered rep, you can have reference letters. Now, the reference letter can't say, hey, they made me 20% last year. Hey, they never lost money. What can a reference letter say for registered reps? Yeah, this guy's awesome. They can say that, can't they, John? This guy's awesome. He's nice. He's courteous. He's helpful. They can say that. So insurance professionals and registered reps can have those kind of endorsement letters, but RIAs cannot. RIAs cannot. So any other questions, concerns? Super. So guys, I appreciate, again, your confidence in coming onto the 5Q system. Just spend 12 hours learning these scripts and your world will change. Is that fair? Because it's about respect. It's about giving the people what they want. It's about creating trust with them. And it's such an easy way to become successful, because it's not about taking advantage of as many people as possible, selling as many products as possible. Instead, it's about what? Instead, it's about what? Helping as many people as possible, giving as many people as possible the dignity of taking care of themselves. Make sense to everybody? Super. Well, you guys have a wonderful weekend. We'll talk to you all on Friday. Thanks, everybody.